How do we get this to talk to this using just this? Let's find out today on Retro Computing Ranch. Alright, so here's one of the fun parts of interfacing a vintage computer to a modern computer. The 3B2 is only capable of speaking, at least in a normal sense, serial. There's no VGA, CGA, EGA. There's no display adapter. It only talks serial. You need a serial terminal, or you need to have a laptop or a desktop computer to talk to it. Now, on the 3B2, the decision that AT&T made is, instead of using a normal DE9 or a DB25 port, they used RJ45 ports. So we have to make a special cable to be able to hook the adapter, the serial adapter, up to the 3B2. So what you will need is, one, either a PC, whether it's desktop or laptop, that has a serial port, which is pretty rare these days, or you can get a USB to serial adapter. Now, there are tons of these out there, and you do have to be careful what you buy, in the sense that you can easily get one that will not work with Windows. There are driver issues everywhere, and they will get you. So the easiest thing to do is really to use Linux. Now, you can look through listings and see if you can find one that says it's Windows compatible. That's probably going to work out okay for you. If you're on Linux, pretty much every one of these USB to serial adapters just works straight out of the box. The next thing that you're going to need, at least today, back in the day you used to be able to buy a cable that interfaced from these ports to a standard serial port. We're going to use an Ethernet cable, and the way that we're going to do that is we're going to use an adapter that goes from an RJ45 jack to a DB25 or to a DE9. Now, what you will run into, you can buy these new, and if you buy the ones where they are unpinned, then you can pin them however you want. You could go on DigiKey and order them right now. They're about $5.50 or so at the time of making of this video. You can also find used ones all over the place. But a lot of times what you run into is either the wiring internally has been snipped, like on this one, or you'll get one where they've been made a certain way and you'll have one pin that connects to multiple places, or multiple wires that are connected to one pin. Those become very difficult to use. On pretty much all of the DB25 ones that I've seen, they all have individual wires. I've pretty much never seen one that's configured in the way I was just talking about. Now, if you're going to get a DB25, and I looked, I didn't see these for sale anywhere, but if you find one used, you will also need to get an adapter that goes from the correct pin out here to the correct pin out there. So once you've decided which one you're going to use, what you'll need to do is you'll need to get it open. And so on these, there are tabs in each corner. And you can try to pull the tab back, but if it's an older connector, there's a good chance you're going to break that plastic tab. And once they're broken, they're not great to try to get everything to hold together. So just use some caution if it's a vintage connector. Now, once you've got that kind of free, we'll need to depin this connector. So they make a specialty tool to do this. And I own two of them. I have no idea where either one is at. You can use a paper clip as long as it fits inside the hole in the front of the connector, or you can even use some sort of other ejector tool. This one happens to fit, so this one's the one we're going to use. Now, I'm going to provide a link to the documentation I used, and the key to making this work is that when you're looking into this connector, pin 1 is on this side and then it goes pin 1 all the way through to pin 8. If you follow that, you'll know where everything's at, but you'll want to go ahead and use a multimeter, beep this out, map it, figure out what pin goes to which color. They seem to be fairly standard, but you don't want to get caught out assuming the color code, and then you get something wrong and it doesn't work. So let's go ahead and get this connector depinned, and then we will get everything put together. So sometimes you have to use a lot of force, sometimes you can just use a little bit of force. I wouldn't feel terrible about just kind of reefing on it and getting it going. Now you do run a risk of damaging the pin or the housing when you do this, so just keep that in mind. This one's actually not too bad. It may have been ejected several times before, and it may be on the verge of wearing out. So that's something to be aware of. Well, that one is not cooperating. There we go. Take a look at these, make sure that they're all kind of good. Okay, so we've got that apart. We can set that ejector tool aside. Now I will need to bring up my documentation here that shows me what goes where, and we can start getting everything pinned. So we want to take a look at each one of these, make sure they still look good. So on my map for this connector for the DB25, pin 2 on the connector is going to be red, which is the transmit data. Now we'll push that in, make sure it's in good, give it a little pull test. You don't want it to come out. If it comes out when you give it a pull test, it's probably going to come out when you try to plug it into a connector. So that would not be great. All right, the next one on the list is yellow. That'll go to pin 3. On this connector, yellow is receive data. Oh, see, that one pulled out. That one's pulling out fairly easily. Let's see here. This housing may be damaged. If it is, yeah, that housing does not seem great. Let's go ahead and switch to a different housing. So we'll start over on that process. Let's see here. So starting over, red goes to pin 2. So the question is, have I damaged the housing or have I damaged the pin? I don't know. That's in there good and solid. 2, sorry, not 2. This is 3. It's yellow. That is the receive data. Yeah, that went in solid that time. Okay. Blue on this connector is going to go to pin 4. And pin 4 is request to send. So that's solid. Next is brown, which is going to go to 5. And that is clear to send. So the 3B2 wants all of these pins, and it checks. If it does not get the communication it expects, it fails. So you have to make sure that you pin this out correctly and that you have all of these wires connected. There's only one in the document that I'm going to link to that you don't need, and I will tell you about that in just a few moments. So next we have orange. That is going to go to pin 7, so we're leaving one gap here. Excuse me. In other words, we've populated 2, 3, 4, 5. We're skipping 6. We're pinning 7 with orange. That didn't seat all the way. There we go. It went in. it'll give you a little click as it seats. Next is green. Oh, sorry. Orange is signal ground. So that's very important. Green is data carrier detect, and that is going to go into 8. So we've got that pinned. By the way, these are all numbered. At least the good ones are numbered on the back of the housing. You probably can't see it, but it is numbered there. A lot of times they're numbered on the front of the housing too, but if it's used, those can be worn off. Just make sure you look at those. That gives you a good guide as to where to go. So the last pin that we have to pin here is black, and that's going to go to 20. That's data terminal ready. Now that is on our bottom row, and I'm having a hard time seeing any of this. So the little trick that I do all the time is I get my phone camera out and I look. So now I can clearly read it, and I can tell that pin 20 is directly underneath between the orange and the green. So I'm just going to go ahead and drop that right in there and make sure that it seats. That did not seat all the way. It still did not seat all the way. And sometimes you may end up having to use a tool to get these to seat, and you can use the same ejector tool. There we go. It went. All right. So now everything is fully seated. You do have one wire left over on this connector. It's white. It's not used. I like to give them a little twist to kind of bundle the wiring together. At the speeds we're operating at, 9600 baud, it's not going to be an issue. You can just push the connector back together. So that is all good. Now, on the document that I'm going to link to, pin 5 on the RJ45, which is data terminal ready, is supposed to go to data carrier detect and dataset ready. But the connection to dataset ready is optional. The 3B2 does not check for it. If it's not there, the 3B2 doesn't care, and it doesn't affect performance. So that is the only one that you can leave out. Everything else is pretty much needed. So now we're at the point where I've got the original DE9 that I was using in the last episode to talk to the 3B2. I have that one hooked to a USB to serial adapter, which is connected to my laptop. The one that we built today, I'm going to use it to connect an Olivetti amber screen terminal to the 3B2. So what I will have is I will have the laptop on the console port, and I will have the serial terminal on the CON-TTY port. Now, what we do have, and I don't have any currently installed, the card that I showed you. So this is a 4-port serial card plus a parallel port, and they also have an 8-port card. So we will be installing these cards in a future episode, and then we'll be able to hook up even more terminals and see what kind of performance we can get out of the system. So far, things have been slow, but I'm hoping that when I get the 310 working, that machine will be a bit faster. Either way, we're going to do a lot of exploration and see what we can find out. But to cut a long story short, let's go ahead and get this hooked up and see if we can run some programs that I have created. So I did a bunch of recording earlier, and I demoed the Mandelbrot programs that I brought over and converted to KNRC. But I completely forgot to demo the other program that I've been working on, and this is something that's it's pretty different. I did some research, and as far as I can tell, I don't think there were ever any games for the 3B2. Now we're limited to text only, and so there's some classics in there. Let's go ahead and load this program. So as you can see, we're in an adventure clone. We can ask for help. That's the commands that we have. So I can already see here that we have a brass lamp, a set of keys, and some food. Let's go ahead and take the lamp, take the keys, and take the food. Now, we've picked all that up. We have options. So let's go north. And there's a coil of rope. So let's take the rope. All right, so now if we go south, we're back where we were. We can go south again, or we can't. So, plays like adventure, looks like adventure. It's kind of small. It's only 8 areas at the moment, but it is a start. Now, we'll go ahead and hit Q to quit. We've got our thanks for playing. I want to thank you for watching. I hope you learned something today. I know that I've learned, and let's just keep doing more of that. I hope that you have a great evening. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time.